Hey folks, my name is Amy Watson and I am founder of The Beloved Company, a company that I established to help bring you back to your natural balance. From here, you can start to consciously create a life that you love, aligned with your soul's purpose and fully in your power. So today is just going to be a fairly short video where I talk about one of the three pillars of my business, mind, body, soul. I talk about the body and I want to talk about yoga. So for many years, I was definitely in the camp of getting into shape meant working really hard. It meant pounding the pavement and running long distances. I also love running, but it meant long hours in the gym. Um, it meant games at school, whatever. But it was always done in opposition to my body. It was always this idea that my body wasn't good enough, that it needed to be better, that I wanted to improve it somehow. I wanted to make it stronger, leaner, tighter, skinnier, faster, fitter. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. But it was almost like it was done as this never being good enough, from this perspective of just not quite enoughness in whatever area that was. And oftentimes it even played out, if I'm totally honest, as a form of kind of self-punishment. Maybe I'd had an excessive weekend with food or with alcohol or drink, and it was like a punishment to like make sure that I burnt those calories off and they didn't go on my hips or my belly, God forbid, or to detox the body because I hadn't been healthy. And again, I mean, that makes sense, there's nothing wrong with that. But it just came from a really harsh place. It came from a place where there just wasn't a huge amount of compassion or gratitude for what my amazing body was already doing. There was certainly no word amazing before the word body, and definitely not before mine. It was this grasping, this striving to attain a different body, a better body, an improved body, a punishment of the way the body was currently. And that absolutely reflected my mindset, it absolutely reflected my relationship with myself, and how I valued myself. And on this healing journey that I've been going on, it started to shift as I have started to integrate parts of myself with love and acceptance, as I am in process of coming back to wholeness. I'm deepening that level of self-love, of self-acceptance. And it really started with my body. Really started with my body. So when I went through my dark night of my soul, and many of you know this story, I kind of lost everything. Career, partner, house, city, all in one foul swoop. I tell that story on my Facebook page. In fact, if you look for my story, there's a video with that, and I might put it directly onto YouTube as well if that's where you're logging in from. And so I was left like in that crazy dark night of the soul of everything that I identified as was kind of removed, and so there was this kind of, what the hell do I do now? Shit. And so I drew on a piece of paper what excites me, what lights me up, and allowed myself to remember, the things that excited me before I got to this point of kind of my inner flame being so dimmed and feeling so lost from this kind of narcissistic relationship. And it led me on this journey to learn more about, I set this naive intention to make whatever subconscious conscious, and it led me on this very naive start to a journey that ended up being a beautiful unfolding, a really deep surrender to the path of my soul, to understand more about meditation. And I thought, well, who knows meditation better than the Dalai Lama and Tibetan monks, right? Whereabouts are they? And it turns out they're in Himal Pradesh, the northwestern corner of India, because they are in exile from Tibet, as I'm sure you know. So I thought, cool, I'll go there. And there was a 10-day course that was called the Introduction to Buddhism, and it was held, apart from the lectures, in silent meditation. You know, you weren't allowed to talk to anyone during the meals, anything. And I thought, brilliant, great, double whammy. Get 10 days to learn how to meditate properly from the guys himself, you know, and I don't have to talk to anyone, which is great because I'm really not feeling like talking to anyone at the minute. So off I go on what's meant to be like a 10-day trip, 2 weeks, you know, with a bit of time each side. It turned into a 5-month journey around India and Nepal. And to anyone who's been to India, the pulling, the cooling from the heart, God, it's hard to explain, but one thing, just, you can't make a plan in India. Things just unfold. That spirit really leads you. The reason I'm saying all of this is one of the things that ended up unfolding was I was led to my yoga teacher, and I found myself undertaking my yoga teacher training, despite at that point having no intention whatsoever to teach. And in the process of working so much with the body, now yoga is not just made up of asana, movement of the body, it's made up of many different yamas and niyamas, ways to live, for yogic science, of way to live a happy life. The Yoga Sutras of Patanjali talks about this, you know, how to find peace past the cessation of the mind, the craziness of the monkey mind. But what fascinated me and what I want to share with you today is that in working just with the body, we were doing the same. I was hatha yoga, so we were doing the same, you know, fairly functional, straightforward poses every day. So much was coming up. So much was coming up emotionally, mentally. I was finding that, you know, certain ways that I had felt about my relationship was like, as that was coming up, more space was being found in my hips. That this fear of moving forward was like this real tightness in my knees, and suddenly that started to open up and I felt excited about what was moving forward, and I started to experience, to really experience, and as a result understand through the embodiment of that experience this interconnection of mind and body, that the body is the subconscious mind. You know, when we experience something and we don't want to process it, we don't let it go, we don't let it flow through, we store it in the body. And this is why, if any of you have ever read Louise Hay's book of How to Heal Your Life, and if you haven't, I really recommend you do. It's my first go-to any time that I'm out of balance, and I do not get sick, FYI. I do not get sick, and I really think that it's because I believe that I don't get sick. I made that decision about 10 years ago, and it's bar like having my appendix out. Yeah, it very rarely happens. Anyway, I digress. She talks about this. She talks about how beliefs and experiences of the mind play out in the body. You know, tight your shoulders is carrying the weight of the world. So as I'm like doing this with my shoulders, right? I know I'm dealing with some stuff that I'm carrying at the moment. And sure enough, I have a sore neck and shoulders. And it plays out to every part of the body. And as we start to understand the map of the body as a conscious expression, because we're really listening to it and reading it, then we can start to come back into harmony with it. And this is so important, because then we can start to be in relationship. We can start to be in a relationship with our body. You know, our heart beats constantly. If it stopped, we'd die. And yet, how often do you put your hands on your heart and say thank you? Your liver, if it wasn't doing its really quite advanced, complicated functions of, you know, cleansing out of the body all these crazy chemicals that we come into contact with every second almost, we'd be dead. And yet, how many times do you put your hand on your liver and say thank you? You know, how many of us just, you know, drink to excess and add workload on top of it? I like to think of it as like each cell in the body is, you know, striving towards completing the goals, the beliefs, the desires that you set in your mind. And so doesn't it make sense to turn around and to thank the body, to thank the parts of the body that do that, to really consciously think about, what you're bringing into the body? There's another aspect to this as well, right? We are 99.9999999, like 39% space. We went into this in Tibetan Buddhism, right? That from a quantum level, we're in our spirit. We are bringing into existence this manifestation of our body every second. It's not the same body, now as it was even a second ago. And in terms of the actual matter itself, that's changing. Deepak Chopra talks about this a lot. And so really, our body is an expression of a memory, of a belief, of a set, of a thought, of information of the DNA structure that's come down through generations. And so, that's why we often find that, you can see the same mannerisms in the baby of a grandchild to a grandparent, or there can be the same aches and pains in the body, or even the same beliefs, because that information is passed down. And so if it's information, we can get to change it. Again, we can be in relationship with that. It's like the body can be a portal, and the breath is the spirit that moves through it. And the difference to me, as I started to really fall in love with yoga, as I really started to make that transition to build the ritual and the habit of yoga as a daily part of my life, the relationship started to change. It started to become one of increasing levels of love, of devotion, of mindful listening, of compassion, of allowance, of acceptance, of understanding that my consciousness is simply witnessing, watching. That's my spirit. And my body is telling this story. It's unveiling to me all of these things that I'm not perhaps aware of if I don't stop and I don't listen. So I can listen when I meditate. I can listen in yin when I'm holding a position for, 3 to 10 minutes. I can listen as I flow through certain sequences, in yoga flow. How's my body feeling? What is it responding to? Is it lethargic? Is it energized? Is it feeling sexual or sensual or rigid or restricted? And what is the story behind that? And can I listen to it without overly identifying or attaching? And in this beautiful, deep inquiry, my body has changed shape. It's changed form. I work maybe 1/10 of the effort of what I used to work in terms of my physical appearance, in terms of effort, in terms of forcing. But what I do now is done with love, with harmony, in harmony. It's done with the intention of balance, with the intention of reverence, of devotion. And my body responds. Everything responds to the truth that is love behind everything. We don't have to push, we don't have to hustle, we don't have to force, we just have to come into alignment and into balance. And that's when our true potential and expression can land, can be received. It's an amazing byproduct for my body to be in better shape than it was years before, when I was working so much harder, simply because I'm now moving with intention, with consciousness, mindfully. I'm breathing in that healing, I'm breathing in light into my body, I'm breathing in energy into my body, I'm breathing in good intention. And that's bathing all of the matter, all of the cells, the mitochondria, the nucleuses, the blood, the sinew, the bones, it's bathing all of that. It is the 99.9999999. That is whatever your conscious intent is. And it's such a revolution. And it's not that now I only do yoga. I still love running. It still has its place for me. I find it super cathartic and energizing. I love cycling. I actually really enjoy lifting heavy weights. I haven't done it for a little while, since before COVID, but I really enjoy the empowerment of that, like finding your kind of warrior. I really enjoy swimming. Big on scuba diving, starting to get into free diving. I love all of these different ways to move our body, but the difference is now subtly below it. It comes from a place of joy and love, that I get to use and move this body. and I get to experience it and I get to play within it. And it's such a big part, I think, of understanding the energy that we have, the creative force that moves through us, the sexual force that moves through us, embracing that and listening to it, you know. And I really listen to what my body wants now. You know, some days it will really need some extra sugar or salt. Some days it's really craving just to eat a whole cucumber, you know, or I listen, and it's that intuitive way of moving and of eating. And I'm not flipping perfect by any means. That I know it's like, I would say kind of 20-30% of the time I eat because of what my mind wants, not what my body wants. So still emotionally eat. I still eat those cookies when I'm stressed or I'm tired. Still a big chocolate fan, although that was intentional because dark chocolate is good for you guys. I am vegan and it's good quality. I've been starting my day with cacao most days recently. Don't really drink alcohol anymore, but cacao is my medicine. Oh my goodness. If you want a good quality cacao, check out Avatar Cacao. Very high grade ceremonial cacao. If you don't know what cacao is, it's the raw unprocessed form of chocolate from the cacao bean. It includes, has within it, I should say, a chemical that stimulates endorphins and serotonin, kind of like taking MDMA, but in like a microdose. So it's a beautiful, heartwarming chocolate. Where was I going with this? Yeah, so I'm not perfect. I definitely still do things from oftentimes, you know, a place of being out of balance or from a wounded place or, you know, being subject to my emotions. But it's definitely, I'm really noticing now, like 3 years in, real shifts of why I do things. I'm not as concerned now, you know, with the outcome. I'm not trying to run however many miles to be a certain weight or get a certain time. It's really good to push yourself, don't get me wrong. It's not done like a punishment, you know. If I'm not a certain weight, I'm not good enough or whatever it was before. Now it's more from a place of play and exploration and love and listening. So I suppose my intention for this video is to ask you, how can you start to explore moving your relationship with your body towards one of increased kindness, compassion, gratitude, love and devotion? And how can that be expressed in how you move it, how you move within it, how you use it, how you talk to it, how you feed it, how you rest with it, how you enjoy being within it. Because like everything in this universe, it loves to be acknowledged, it loves to receive love, and it will give that love right back to you. So that's my invitation today. How can you start to deepen that relationship with your body into one of greater love? Because I mean, is there anything better to really love in this life? You're going to have this body the whole way through. It's definitely one to start to maybe reflect on. It's definitely changed my life a lot already so far, and I'm excited to see what comes. I'd love to know your thoughts and feedback. Do leave them below. Do send me a message on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, to my email, whatever works to you. My details are below. Sending so much love today, and I hope you enjoy the journey with your body into one of love and gratitude and devotion. All right, namaste.